All right, guys, here we are at Louis Silver. We're doing something a little new today, and I'm going to be interviewing venerable members of my audience that want to get on screen here and talk about silver. You've heard me talk enough. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talk, but let's hear what some other stackers have to say. And today we're going to interview Italian G. He's been in the community for years and years and does not do videos, but I'd love for you to hear his thoughts on things. Hi, G. How you doing?
All right, Lou, how are you?
I'm very
I'm
good.
honored to be your first guest in a
Well,
while. I think you had one years ago, if I remember correctly, but I can't remember.
yeah, I think I had a chart guy on once, and then I was interviewed once by another channel. But let's get this focused on what we're interested in, and that is the shiny stuff. If you want to talk just a little bit about your history on YouTube, and then get into when you started stacking or collecting, and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started collecting when I was a young boy. My father encouraged us to have coin collections. For those of us that are older than 50, that was a big thing years ago. Penny collection, nickels, dimes, and quarters, and it was a nice way to encourage savings and make people learn about collecting. But then I put it away and packed it away for all the years, and it sat in the closet for 20, 30 years. And after the 2008, 9, 10, 11 financial crisis, and then watching silver go to $50, when it came back down after 2011, I said, well, here's my chance to get in on this because I know what's going to happen. So I started buying rolls of American Eagles. I had always been a believer in American coins, and that's really what I knew about. My father had collected some constitutional. So I went in that direction, and I started to go on YouTube and then gradually add a channel and add another channel. You were one of them, Sal and a few other people. And I still have all of them. And it's been the time has flown by since I started. But I gradually learned about, it's almost been like a formal education. I gradually learned about all the different mints and all the different coins and how all the intricacies of hot market, cold market, hot coins, cold coins, and how to read the market. And basically, I listened to tons and tons of videos. And I've really enjoyed it ever since. I started sort of as a prepper stacker. I'm not really a huge prepper, but I'm more of an inflation prepper. And so I started stacking to protect my buying power.
Yeah, I know you've told me about your pantry before, and you are well stocked for whatever comes your way.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost been pleasure, not a pleasure, but vindication to see what's happened in the last year or two between the shortages and the price increases. So I feel that I've been correct in my assessment. So it's been rewarding to have a lot of those things out of the way. When COVID started, I went to the supermarket at 7 a.m. a few days, and there was a big line outside. And I said, oh boy, I'm in trouble. But when the door opened, everybody ran almost to a person. Everyone ran to the toilet paper aisle. And I, having already had toilet paper, went to the meat section and just took my time and picked out whatever meat I wanted to buy.
Oh, that feels good. Hey, I've got to ask you, since you've been doing this for a few years, those first Eagles that you bought, what did you pay for them?
If I remember, I started buying when the spot was around 17, 18, and the premiums were about $3 for the most part. Occasionally I would get them for $2. And that's one of the things I learned along the way for the newer people, is that there's a lot of discussion in the community what to stack, and it really depends, because if you're in a low premium phase on what can be considered to be the best coins, then certainly by all means buy the Eagles. But if you're in a situation in the last 2 years when the premiums are somewhat ridiculous, then don't buy them. And so I'm not saying I'm a genius. I didn't know really much about the premiums when I started, so it was more luck luck and just placing a value on Eagles, whether it be just being a known quantity or being, for liquidity after, if something happens. But don't go after the things that are extremely pricey at the time. Right now, I wouldn't be buying Eagles until a couple more dollars down. We're getting back to almost normal, but I'm not sure that we will completely. But that's what I paid, and I paid as little as $320 a roll one time on eBay when spot went to 14 and somebody had a $2 premium. I forget which dealer it was, and I've only ever bought from major dealers, so I don't play around with private individuals. I bought from big name dealers who have eBay stores, and there was a $2 sale and I paid 16, so that's do the math. I don't know if it's 20 in a row or 25. I forget now. It's 20, right?
Yeah.
So it was $320.
Man, that is fantastic. And so how do you, when there was the silver squeeze and silver was pushing 30, I got FOMO. I really did back then and made some mistakes. And I know that you are way more conservative and circumspect than I was. How did you avoid the FOMO? How do you keep from throwing in all your money when you think things are going to the moon?
Well, it's not easy to do, because the more videos you watch, the more you see everyone doing an unboxing, and so it's almost like a self-inflicted wound. So you get this urge to buy, and I did buy. I think that everybody gets FOMO, almost everybody, and there are a couple of things. The first thing is, try to minimize your mistakes. If you don't know if you're doing the right thing, then don't do a lot of it. Just my father used to say, if you have a feeling something's going in a certain direction, just get one so that you're in. That doesn't mean you have to go all in. But when that silver squeeze came, I got very excited, because I don't know if you remember, it was up $3 and spot was up $3 the night before. And it seemed like, wow, this is it. And it was hard not to get FOMO or be excited, so I bought a little. And but the thing is that as you watch all the videos, you start to forget who unpacked what, and you start to merge all the community members in your head, and you see all the stacks, and it all becomes one giant stack to you in your brain. And that can be a problem, because you start to want to keep up with everybody. And it's not about keeping up with everybody. It's about just buying what you feel comfortable buying. Just buy what you want to buy. Have a budget, and buy whatever you can buy. But FOMO, as you well know, the price of silver is probably one of the most quintessential. If you follow it on a chart, it looks like an EKG. I mean, it's up and down and up and down and up and down. And it is the ultimate collectible metal that you should just wait for dips as much as possible and not buy into the peaks and the troughs, and not to get too excited either way, because it is the ultimate in instability. There's always another dip coming. So even in an up market, there's a dip like we're having right now. So
speaking of the chart right now, and I know you know your way around a chart. So what are you thinking for silver? Is it up from here, down a little further, down then up then down? What comes next?
Well, I'm going with the conventional thinking right now, which is, maybe 2075 or 21 and then back up again. But, I'm not so sure because there are a lot of black swans out there. As everybody knows, the stock market right now is being viewed as at a top and very dangerous. The Japanese yen is a time bomb. If they somehow lose control of their currency, that will cause a major crisis. And there are lots of black swans out there, and the number of black swans are increasing all the time. And it seems that it's inevitable that we have some sort of black swan. So I'm a little bit cautious. We could get a move, some sort of liquidity squeeze where we see silver drop to, 17 or 18. And I'm not saying, people will jump all over that number and say, that's not going to happen. Well, I always think everything's not going to happen, and then it does.
Yeah.
As COVID started, I'm sorry about that. As COVID started, I was sat in amazement that day as we dropped from 15 to 12 in one day.
And the thing to keep in mind is when that happens, not only is there opportunity possibly in physical metals, which get snatched up real fast and the premiums go up real fast. But what I didn't realize at the time, stupidly, is that was an opportune time to buy into the gold and silver miners. If you have any money in the stock market, what an opportunity that was, or even to pick up some, SLV or GLD. It was like when oil was a negative number. What were we all thinking that we didn't, back up the truck? And that's something that I like to think about, is what I will do when the unexpected happens.
It pays to have a plan. And when we have those big $1 down days in silver, before we even get to the dollar down, I already know what I'm going to buy if we continue to go down. I've already sought out and put in my car on eBay, or I've gone to Monument Metals or Bold or wherever, and I've already targeted certain items, and I so kind of just wait for them to reach what I feel is an entry point. But back when the COVID started, that day we dropped from 15 to 12. I went to the supermarket at lunchtime, watching my phone in amazement, and by the time I got home, there were no Eagles on eBay. There were no Eagles anywhere. They had either been taken off for the sale or already sold or raised to some exorbitant price. And as you said, the time to jump in and grab something was on the way down, not waiting for everybody to buy. Now, that's in contrast to being patient. So it's very difficult. You kind of have to. But the thing is to realize is that whether you pay 15, 14, 13, or 12 isn't important, because hopefully you're buying for $40 or $50 silver. And that dollar different down there isn't going to make a difference. However, of course, you're going to try to pay as little as possible, because then you'll get more ounces in the long run. So it's like managing your own business, and managing your inventory. There's a carrying cost. There's a opportunity cost of using your money too soon or too late.
Well, I know you're a frugal shopper like I am, and I get the comment all the time that price doesn't really matter, just buy silver. But I think after there's an evolution that we go through as stackers, where in the beginning you buy the cool stuff and the pretty stuff and the fancy stuff, and you pay whatever. And then as time goes on, you realize that it's about the cost per ounce in your stack. Most stackers that I know gravitate to bullion over time. And I never thought I'd be saying that 10 years ago. But, really, it is about the bullion. It is about the price per ounce. and recognizability, as you would say. So I know I think it matters, when you buy. I like to buy on dips, and I also like to buy when premiums are low. But some people just want to buy a little bit a month and not really worry about it.
Yeah, I'm still to this day amazed when I watch videos, and somebody will say they bought something at, right now, let's say somebody buys something at 30 something dollars an ounce, and I kind of just shake my head a little bit. And there are lots of new people in the community, and what I noticed is that we all make the same mistakes as we learn, but some people have the benefit, like I mentioned earlier, of coming into it at the right time or not.
Hmm.
And that is, when I came into it, Eagles were cheap and Constitutional was cheap, so I focused on those, for the reasons I already stated. And then now I'm concentrating more on, up till very recently, I was just doing rounds, Buffalo rounds and 10-ounce bars. And if anybody hasn't noticed, the non-Eagle, well, Eagles are down to a decent level, not decent enough for me, but if you go to Maples and Britannias right now, they're very viable. And
Yeah, the
I
maples are a steal.
yeah, and I think that's the way to go right now. But you can't. Everybody, since I don't do videos, but if I were to do videos, that's the kind of talk I would be doing. But everybody has their own idea of what they should be doing, and some people are still buying Constitutional, and some people were buying Eagles at $38.
I can't believe people are still, paying 33, $35 for an Eagle on AppMex. I just bought some yesterday from Vermilion, $6.50 over spot. And I'm planning on buying, which I'm sure shocks people that I bought some silver Eagles. But when things change, when premiums change, when spot price changes, you go for the good stuff, right? And then you find the dealer that has the best deal on the good stuff. And in my opinion, you start picking it up.
Yeah, I was able to get Maples the other day for $25.50, which I think that I like to be patient, but at some point you have to commit a little bit, because like on that dip in August, September we had this year all the way down, I only bought a little bit on that dip, and I was a little bit disappointed that I wasn't more aggressive at the bottom. You can't always be perfect. Don't try to be perfect, but try to get something that you feel is good, But the thing is, learning patience, and the way I learned is channels such as yours. And what I tell people is, don't get caught up in the flashy channel that's always unboxing some $40 an ounce bar that they bought, and there are a lot of channels that are perfect for learning, that aren't flashy, and you really need to have a variety of, you can watch the fun channels too that are unboxing everything, that's fine, but don't forget the educational channels, and education is what you make of it. You have to compile the information across the board from different dealers and get it into your head. And you were one of the ones for me, and there's several others. I don't want to mention names because I'll forget somebody, and then I'll feel bad because I left somebody out. But there are there are at least 10 channels that I used to watch, and they still watch and never miss a video on in any of them. So thank God for YouTube. But
Yeah. Hey, I don't want to forget to mention gold. And where do you stand on gold?
well, if the GSR wasn't 84, I'd be buying a hell of a lot more gold, because I'm tired of kicking boxes of silver, and it's
Hey,
heavy, it's bulky.
what a great problem to have.
Yeah, well, it's heavy, it's bulky, and I do flip also. I flip a lot of things. So sometimes the things that are bulky and sitting around are the things that are going to be shipped out, or something that I want to sell at some point. I kind of just leave it out, like this. I bought that 2 ounce Germania that time, and I never actually even opened the box. And this is the 2 ounce Fafnir, the ultra high reef, the blue one.
Oh, yeah,
And
that's a hot coin.
sometimes I just never open the box, and I that can be good money later on. I've made mistakes. I put some mistakes out here to show you, but gold is I think over time, I think most stackers start with silver because it's inexpensive, and then we kind of gravitate into silver, gold as we go. I have a friend that helped me to do that, and I thankfully, because it's basically a fistful of gold is worth, as you can have $100,000 in a fistful, basically, and it's a very compact. But I think the price of gold has been high because obviously the central bankers have been buying it, and it's relentless, and it just stays high. And the central bankers have kind of skewed the market for us stackers at this point. So as much as I like gold, I've kind of been just nibbling here and there, but not buying a whole lot. I think any dip will quickly be will result in a bounce. Any sizable dip should be bought, and the Chinese and now the other dozen countries that are buying gold aren't going to stop. They basically, I don't see gold stopping. That doesn't mean it's going to go, rifle up to $3,000 an ounce, but I also don't think it has potential for significant drop, barring that one of those the big liquidity crisis that I was talking about before, which cannot be ignored. I mean, we're headed for probably a significant stock market drop at some point, which is going to be very painful for all these people who have never experienced a real bear market. I mean,
I can't help but think about those giant ass balloons that are flying around, the size of 2, 3 school buses carrying payloads of God knows what, in UFOs over Alaska. And I mean, what in the hell is going on in our world?
Yeah, it's just crazy. I can't figure out anything that's going on in the world like right now, except for the Chinese are famous for misinformation and lying. And now they're saying today that they shot one down over their territory. I think that's what they said. And I don't believe that for a second. I pretty much know it's them. It's not aliens, but I mean,
it reminds me a little bit of the Cold War, when Russia used to do everything they could to scare the hell out of the American people with fake UFOs, and maybe Russia's doing it. What do you think?
Well, I think the Chinese. Well, it's possible. I just think that the Chinese are the Russians on steroids from the Cold War. I think we're going to have our hands full with the Chinese. The Russians never. They were a serious opponent, but the Chinese. Let's face it. Looking out 10, 20 years from now, they scare the hell out of me as far as. Competition, non-economic competition, and even economic competition they do if we don't get our act together. But we're too busy fighting over, who uses the restroom with our daughter. I mean, this is crazy stuff.
Yeah, it does seem like we have some pretty feeble people doing detente with other countries. Of course, everything negative that we experience has been somehow instigated by someone feeble in Washington, in my opinion, and then we get ourselves in these messes. I think that I mean, if a bomb goes off somewhere related to China, I think you could see the stock market drop 50%, right? I mean, anything like that could just pull the rug out of the entire economy.
It's certainly another risk. I think that China's still at the being the bully. That they've been trying to learning to be a bully right now, and like most bullies, I think we'll give them a bloody nose early on. What scares me about them is after they learn their lesson and they come back in 10 years from now. That's when they scare me. Right now, I think that we'll give them a bloody nose, but once we got our act together, I'm not too sure about this current administration doing it, but and that's why I think they become so belligerent, because they know basically we're leaderless, or we're preoccupied with other non-important issues, which I don't want to get too political. We could go a couple of hours on that, but I try not to, you can't ignore the politics and the economic trends, because that's what the stacking is all about. I do think that we are approaching an economic death spiral, which I've thought for years. I think I've known you. I've told you that for all the years that I know you, that we're, and here we are. We're at the point where we can barely pay the interest on the debt, and the debt keeps getting larger and larger. And you can easily see in a few years where it's just going to be a death spiral, and it's going to take the entire budget to pay the interest on the debt. And so, I don't know how we're going to do that. It scares the hell out of me, but and it's being ignored by the top leadership. They don't talk about it. They pretend that everything is okay.
It's
It's not
amazing, isn't
okay.
it? It's just
It's not okay.
amazing how probably the most important thing of our lifetime is generally being ignored by Washington, and somewhat on both sides of the aisle, I would say. The more you study history and warfare and civilizations, you realize it all comes down to money, right? The financial system is the life's blood of any country, and we've polluted ours.
Made a lot of mistakes. That when they repealed the Glass-Steagall in the 90s, that was a huge mistake. You can't have brokerages, banks and brokerages combining and gambling the bank's money. I mean, it's nothing good comes of it. But of course, that's what we did, and that's where we're at now. And all these quadrillion in derivatives are all engineered to generate commissions and premiums for Wall Street, and it's all just greed, and we've been done in by greed,
And that seems to be who's running our country. The banks are in charge, in my opinion.
Yeah, everything is for money, and it's not capitalism anymore. When even capitalism needs to have rules, and right now there are no rules. It's just grab all you can grab, and that's not real capitalism. So they'll try to blame capitalism for this, but this isn't capitalism. This is just greed and theft.
Yeah, and the rich getting richer. I mean, honestly, that is what has happened in our country. Middle class getting squeezed, and I don't know what the solution to that is, other than get you some hard assets. But we're going to wrap up here pretty soon. The video will be ending, but what other assets or what other tangible assets are you a proponent of? We know silver, we know gold, we know toilet paper. What else do you like putting your money in?
Tangible wise, I have my house, and I don't believe in having any debt outside of possibility. It's understandable if people have mortgages, and not too many people can pay off their house right away, but non-mortgage debt should be basically non-existent. So I think not having debt is almost like having an asset. But as far as tangible things go, example I always use, the two things I have in my head that I say to people in preparation for what's going to happen. I mean, there's so many things that you can buy ahead of time, and pretend that your house is going to be blasted off into space and you're going to have to survive in your house. so to speak, toothbrushes or whatever the case may be. Number one. And number two, if you don't know what to buy, then just go to Costco or BJ's or Sam's or Walmart and just walk up and down the aisles and say, am I going to need this in the next year or two? And if you are, what I do is I buy things that are on sale that month, and then I just keep stacking them up until I have a comfort level where I have sort of my own little inventory. But I don't collect, I had baseball cards and things like that. And you can't, I have a job too. So I will give a piece of advice my father gave me when I was younger, which is don't think you're rich or you're set just because you have, stocks or gold or silver. Your biggest asset is your job. So I think that's good advice as well, is to get yourself a good stable job with good benefits. And I think that's what it's true that's what your biggest asset is.
Yeah, and certainly without a mortgage, you can put more of your income into metals or rental property, or paying off your house is really great advice.
Yeah, and like I said in the beginning, the peaks and troughs of silver especially, don't get caught up, and just don't do the FOMO. It's a big mistake, and everybody does it in the beginning, and then you kind of learn. And don't go after the hot coin. Some of us have been around for a while. Remember, the swan and here's an emu that you mentioned in your last video, and this seemed like a great buy, but this is one of my. I only got two of these 70s, but it seemed like a decent idea at the time. But there aren't, beware of the large dealers, and it could beware of the collectible coins, and they're usually pushing it because they're making a lot of profit on it. So be careful with that as well.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to play that game. And although, you can still do it, but to keep those premiums low when you get into it, something like a Tudor Beast, which Gold Addict continues to recommend. You can buy a collectible series, $3 over spot. Mm-hmm. Then you're playing in the kiddie pool. You can't really get hurt. Too bad anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's the price range that I like. That, but it comes with time. Don't try to rush it. And everybody thinks they're smart right away. And I remember people buying, the second year of the Swan, buying 200 and 300 of them, thinking that it was going to happen again. And then you can really handicap yourself going forward doing that kind of thing. So
yeah, I found that anytime I've gotten, well, not anytime, but boy, the greedier you get, the worse it goes. So just like in a stock portfolio, you want to spread your risk around with coins if you're going to play the collector market. And I recommend you don't, but I have done it and it's worked out okay. But the average person, if you're not prepared to spend as much time on silver analysis as you do on football or something else you're interested in, then don't even try, because what matters is the bullion. Okay, we've got 1 minute left, and is there anything else you want to say? I really appreciate the interview, and all your comments throughout the years have been spot on and mature. You really have got a great view of things, a realistic view. But would you like to say anything in conclusion?
Just repeat a little bit what I said. I learned from several of there's a lot of knowledge out there. Beware of the pumpers, but there are a lot of really good people out there that I learned from. And I started out making mistakes, and don't let a mistake bother you. Don't get caught up in the big dealer selling you something that says gem uncirculated, or don't get caught up in excessive grading fees, and try to avoid those kind of mistakes. Have a goal in mind, so that you can work towards your goal, but try not to get off track.